Since 2010, there has been absolutely zero shortage of future Hall of Fame pitchers playing in the major leagues. Players that immediately come to mind are Clayton Kershaw, Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, and Jacob deGrom. These four players alone combined for 30 All-Star appearances, 11 Cy Young Awards, 8 ERA titles, 2 MVPs, and let's just say a lot of money in career earnings. For me personally, these four guys are on the Mount Rushmore of 2010's pitchers, and it's been a real treat to watch them take the mound for the past decade. If you're a new baseball fan and didn't really watch much in past years, you'll probably be surprised once I tell you that Madison Bumgarner isn't very far down the list of the most dominant pitchers since 2010. He definitely isn't on the same level as the four guys I mentioned, but even the most diehard baseball fans forget that at his peak, Bumgarner was one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. Well, in this video, we're going to examine this peak that included 3 World Series championships, a World Series MVP, and 4 All-Star appearances, and the massive decline in recent years that caused him to be arguably the worst pitcher in baseball while getting cut from his team. Before I get into it, welcome to the War Room, a channel where I discuss all things sports related. I'm going to be making MLB content like this all season long, so subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let's get straight to it. Madison Kyle Bumgarner, aka Mad Bum, was born on August 1st, 1989 in Hickory, North Carolina, while his dad Kevin had a heavy influence on his playing career. At the age of just 4 years old, his father signed him up to play in a youth baseball league that was meant for kids aged 5 through 8. Because Mad Bum was underage, his dad was forced to sign a waiver in order for him to play. It was clear that as time went on, there was a massive gap in talent between Bumgarner and everyone else. The gap was even more apparent considering the fact that he didn't even start throwing curveballs until age 16 because his father wouldn't let him. His dad said that if he threw curves at too young of an age, he was risking an arm injury which would shorten his career. But Mad Bum didn't need a curveball to be a successful pitcher at this level. His fastball and changeup combination was so good that nobody can touch him anyway. However, once he added the curveball to his pitching arsenal, he quickly became one of the best pitchers in the country, just in time for his first varsity season at South Caldwell High School. Like most future MLB stars, it was at this level that he began making a name for himself. He played 2 years of varsity baseball there, and he was nothing short of incredible. In his first varsity season as a starting pitcher, he finished with a 12-2 record, a .99 ERA, and 120 strikeouts in 84 innings pitched, while his school was runner-up for the North Carolina State Championship that season. Bumgarner was also a very good hitter in high school, as he batted .333 with 6 home runs and 26 RBIs in 22 games that same season. While these pitching and hitting stats are both very good, he was even better his senior year. He won 1 less game with an ERA a little bit higher, struck out 23 more batters than the year before, while at the plate he batted .449 with 11 home runs and 48 RBIs in 27 games. In fact, Madison was so good in high school that his father had to build a wall around the school's bullpen so MLB scouts and agents wouldn't distract him while he was warming up. It was also this season that he won North Carolina Gatorade Player of the Year, led his team to a state championship victory, and announced commitment to play at UNC in college on scholarship. Not a bad year for a 17-year-old if you ask me. Coming out of high school, Perfect Game ranked Bumgarner as the best left-handed pitcher in the country and the 5th best player overall, behind Rick Porcello, Jason Hayward, Josh Vitters, and Matt Harvey. Considering everything I just said, obviously there were very high expectations on him heading into the 2007 MLB draft, which took place while he was still only 17 years old. David Price went first out of Vanderbilt, Mike Moustakas went second, Matt Wieters went 5th, and with the 10th pick, the San Francisco Giants took a chance on Madison Bumgarner. He signed with the team instead of going to college, and usually when high schoolers at this young of an age sign with an MLB team, it's expected that they might take a little bit more time than usual to adjust to the next level of baseball. And looking back, it's safe to say that Bumgarner was an exception. In 2008, at age 18 in Single A, he posted a 15-3 record with a 1.46 ERA and 164 strikeouts in 141 2/3 innings pitched. These stats were good enough for a promotion after just 1 year, and in the 2009 AA season, he was phenomenal again. 2009 was an interesting year for the San Francisco Giants because in each of the 4 years prior to this season, they were rebuilding and continued to play sub-500 baseball. But 2009 was the year the rebuild was starting to come together while the franchise saw glimpses of success. They had a 25-year-old back-to-back Cy Young winner named Tim Lincecum, a 24-year-old starting pitcher named Matt Cain, a 22-year-old stud infielder named Pablo Sandoval, a 26-year-old closer named Sergio Romo, and a 45-year-old Randy Johnson. It was this weird transition period for the franchise where their best players weren't washed up vets, and piece by piece the young talent was starting to take over. In September of this season, they added 2 more pieces of young talent when they called up number 1 prospect Madison Bumgarner to make his debut, while 3 days later the team's number 2 prospect was set to make his debut behind the dish in the form of Buster Posey. While historically people love to talk about the rebuild of the Cubs or Astros, which saw them go from one of the worst teams in the league to World Series champions, this San Francisco Giants rebuild gets lost in the mix as one of the best of all time. Bumgarner appeared in 4 games to finish the season. The team mainly used him out of the bullpen and kept his innings very low. These appearances weren't really about making a huge impact, it was just to get used to pitching to MLB hitters, so his stats in the final month of the season was nothing too crazy. The Giants finished the year 88-74, but missed the postseason for the 6th year in a row. Mad Bum started the 2010 season in AAA, where once again he showed no signs of struggling. Bumgarner proved that the minor leagues were not much of a challenge for him, so on June 26th, the Giants called him up for good. The Giants spent the entire season above 500 since Game 1, so when Mad Bum got called up, the team was 40-32 while trailing the Padres by 2.5 games in the division. He got the loss in his debut, but finished the regular season with again very good stats. Keep in mind he's still only 20 years old at this point and has only been throwing a curveball for 4 years. San Francisco finished 92-70 to win the NL West. MLB seeding was different back then, and it was kind of stupid, so even though the 97-win Phillies were the 1 seed, they hosted the Reds who won their division, while the Giants hosted the wildcard Braves in the NLDS. If you know your history, you know what happens next. The Giants beat the Braves in 4 games, they upset the Phillies in the NLCS in 6 games, and defeated the Texas Rangers in 5 games to win their first World Series since 1954, when they were the New York Giants. Mad Bum had very good stats in the postseason, to nobody's surprise, since I literally haven't shown you a single bad stat line since the video started. So at just 20 years old, Mad Bum was a great piece to a World Series team while becoming one of the game's rising stars. It's kind of funny how his 2011 numbers were the worst of his baseball career up to this point, and as you can see, they aren't even bad at all. While he continued to do his thing in his first full MLB season of action, the Giants failed to make the postseason. In 2012, there was no signs of slowing down as the record improved, the ERA went up a little bit, and he recorded the same amount of strikeouts in a few more innings pitched. While again, the Giants followed up a year where they missed the postseason with another magical run. They won the division at 94-68, they defeated the 97-win Reds in 5 games in the NLDS, the 88-win 2011 World Series champions St. Louis Cardinals in 7 games in the NLCS, and swept the 88-win Detroit Tigers to win their 2nd World Series championship in 3 years. Believe it or not, Bumgarner actually wasn't too great during this postseason run, but who cares, he's a 2-time champ. While Madison has shown potential to be an MLB star since high school, he was still yet to make that jump from good to great in the major leagues. While 2013 was the year he made that jump, and officially entered his prime at age 23. He had a winning record with a sub-3 ERA, barely missed the 200 strikeout mark, made his first career All-Star team, and finished top 10 in National League Cy Young voting. But this was an odd year, so of course the Giants finished below 500 and missed the playoffs, while they tried to bounce back in 2014. And if you've been paying attention to the pattern so far, what happens in an even year after the Giants previously missed the playoffs? They become good again. They made the wild card at 88-74, while either Bumgarner or Buster Posey were widely regarded as the face of the Giants. Mad Bum had another great year, made another All-Star team, finished top 5 in National League Cy Young voting, and actually won a Silver Slugger as a pitcher. This was also the year that the Giants proved that this roster they constructed was in fact a dynasty, and you can never count them out, while Madison Bumgarner went on arguably the greatest postseason run that we'll ever see from a pitcher. San Francisco beat Pittsburgh in the National League wildcard game that Bumgarner started and finished. It was a 4-hit complete game shutout that the Giants won 8-0. Then they faced the 97-win Washington Nationals in the NLDS. The Giants won the series in 4 games, and the game they lost, Mad Bum pitched, but he still did well, throwing 7 innings, only letting up 2 earned runs. It took 5 games for San Francisco to defeat the 90-win Cardinals in the NLCS, which they did in dramatic fashion. In this series, Mad Bum pitched in 2 games, a total of 15 2/3 innings, and let up 3 earned runs, which is a 1.72 series ERA. Now it's time for the World Series, where they face the American League wildcard winner, Kansas City Royals. This was a classic series that went all the way to 7 games, and it came down to the very last batter. In this World Series, Mad Bum started twice, getting the win in both, pitching 16 innings and letting up 1 earned run. But it didn't end there. During this Game 7 matchup, the Giants brought their star pitcher out of the bullpen to finish the job on 2 days rest. Bumgarner came in to start the 5th inning while the Giants were winning 3-2. He finished the game, let up only 2 hits, keeping the score 3-2 and getting the save, as the Giants won their 3rd World Series championship in 5 years. In total, Bumgarner pitched in 21 innings of this World Series, letting up 1 earned run, which is good for a .43 ERA. This made the 24-year-old pitcher the World Series MVP and solidified himself as a postseason legend. In the entire postseason, he pitched 52 2/3 innings with a 1.03 ERA, stats we may not ever see again. This was an amazing end to the Giants dynasty, and though they never got back to this point, Mad Bum was still at the top of his game. The next 2 seasons were both great for him, and he had his 3rd and 4th consecutive All-Star appearances, while again having great numbers in the 2016 postseason, as the Giants' even-year magic ran out. Following the Giants' elimination in 2016, Bumgarner was still only 26, and had he kept playing at this pace, right now he might be in the same conversation as the 4 guys I mentioned at the beginning of this video. But that didn't happen. Mad Bum dealt with injuries in 2017, with a very noticeable drop-off in the games he did play. In 2018, it was a similar story while his ERA continued to climb. 2019 was a mini bounce-back year, but still not at an all-star level. He pitched over 200 innings while striking out 200 batters, as it was a career-worst 3.9 ERA, and it was clear that he wasn't the same pitcher he once was. Madison Bumgarner was one of those players that no matter if he was doing good or bad, you always envisioned him as a member of one team, the Giants. It was hard to imagine him anywhere else, since he got drafted by them as a 17-year-old and was with them until age 29. But the 2019 offseason is where things changed. He was a free agent after this year and did get an offer from the Giants, but he personally felt like the offer was a quote-unquote slap in the face, and he decided to move on. And whatever the Giants' offer was, they were smart to let him walk, because Mad Bum's D-backs tenure has been nothing but an absolute disaster since the very beginning. The 2020 shortened COVID season was again rough on him with injuries, and this was really the first year of his career that you can say Bumgarner had bad numbers. He didn't bounce back in 2021 as injuries were really starting to catch up with him, and it was even worse in 2022 as the ERA went up and the strikeouts went down, while the Diamondbacks' contract was looking like a robbery of $85 million. It pains me to say that in 2023, Madison Bumgarner was arguably the worst pitcher in baseball. His record is 0-3, his ERA is an abysmal 10.26, and hitters have really just been teeing off on him. Earlier this week, the Diamondbacks announced that Bumgarner has been DFA'd, aka cut from the team, and nobody really knows when or where we'll see this man pitch again. While Bumgarner has been a winner, his career as an individual since 2016 has been the difference between him and guys like Kershaw or Justin Verlander. He never finished top 3 in Cy Young voting, and what once was a franchise player that could potentially be a Hall of Famer was a guy that just had a really good 4-year stretch. It's sad to see where Bumgarner is now in his career, especially since he played such an important role in the Giants dynasty. It was a period of baseball that every fan remembers, and for me personally, there's a lot of nostalgia watching those highlights. Whether you love him for what he did or hate him for his on-field antics over the years, this is a man that I believe deserves tons of respect as a baseball fan. He's solely responsible for a lot of great baseball memories, and I hope we haven't seen the last of him. But if this is the end, we can officially say that we saw the rise and fall of Madison Bumgarner. That wraps up this video. Please like if you enjoyed and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know what you think about Madison Bumgarner in the comments below. Do you like or dislike him? I'm curious to see what you guys have to say. Thank you for watching, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.